All right, so it's been several months since I tried to do the coilovers before. We're gonna try it again today. Set aside the whole day for it. Hopefully we can do it. I have from 11 a.m. to around 7 p.m. to get it done. Fingers crossed that's enough time. Right now it's 8 a.m. I gotta drop some stuff off at Goodwill, and I'm gonna wash the car, do an engine bay, clean, and something else. Oh, gear shift boot. Hopefully I can get all that done by 11, and then I can start on the coilovers and sway bars. Let's get to it. But first, I gotta get some Family Mart. So they don't actually have a large coffee, they just have an M coffee. That's the largest size. The largest size is medium. I don't understand. Got a tuna mayo onigiri and a cheeseburger. Pro Miata tip when driving with coffee, you wanna turn it this way, not this way, right? This way. It won't spill, promise. Yeah, breakfast isn't really a thing here. Let's go. All right, so with these guys, I am hoping to get a more dynamic range, I guess, for the coilovers. Dynamic range, does that work? That's camera talk. Anyway, it rides stiff, it's bumpy, or the nose still dips under hard braking. So they're bad regardless. I'm hoping that with Ohlins DFVs, I can stiffen it up on a track, but have a more comfortable ride on a daily driving experience. We'll see. Let's see how it goes. We got sway bars too. Jury's still out on it. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how this goes first, and then maybe we'll do that. So if you buy Ohlins, they will come in pieces. You have to assemble them. It's a pretty simple process. I did some YouTubing, so I'm pretty much an expert. Oh, hey, there's my thermostat. I didn't know I already had a gasket. Well, that's great news. Let me set that to the side. That's awesome. Anyway, so we gotta build them. Yeah, let's see if I can figure out how to do that. I think I can do it. It should be fine. It'll be fine. So I think these are the readers. We'll find out. This might be a problem. The congratulations in English, but the instructions are in Japanese. Wow. Stickers. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay, so I think I figured it out. So these are these go together. I think these are the fronts. Regardless, these are, I'll figure out which one's front, which one's back. Because these are shorter than these. And you would, anyway, the ones with the brackets, you don't have to cut the boot. And they go with the 23/8C, 80C springs and the large spacers. The 1560C springs go with the small spacers and the short coilovers. Because they're shorter, you do have to cut the boot. Okay, let's put them together and hopefully I can get to it. So this guy was kind of tricky. It comes on there. You have to turn it all the way tight. I'm gonna take a 14mm wrench on the flats of this one, and it just comes right out somehow. Otherwise, the shaft keeps spinning. Okay, so it's got these little bolts that have rubber seals in them, and I guess you just pound that down to tighten everything up, and then you can put the adjuster on top. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that all the way around, and the exception is you have to cut these, but yeah. The instructions that come with it kind of spell it out for you. And if you don't have the instructions, or if your instructions are in the wrong language, Ohlins has all of them online, so you can look them up. bolts sag. Let's fix that. Okay, this is the first time I've done this by myself, but I think I understand the concept. So this car has an aftermarket strut bar, so and that is being held on by the 2 coilover bolts there. So I sprayed some WD-40 type stuff on there to try and loosen them up because the bolts look kind of old. And I'll pull those, and I'll pull the strut bar off. Actually, no, before I do that, where that? I'm gonna take these bottom end links out. So I'll take this out, and that should give me room to work with the coilover once it comes down. Then I'll take these off and remove the strut bar. In so doing, I'll be removing the coilover, and hopefully with the end link out, this will be able to drop far enough for me to pull the front coilovers out. On the rear, I've got this control arm bolt here, and this end link here. That's essentially kind of holding everything in place outside of the coilover itself, right? So I'm gonna undo those and put something underneath here to hold it in place just when I start so that I don't end up trying to unbolt things at an angle. And then go in here, pull that off, and undo the bolts. For this side, you just have to pull this plate off, and the same thing's back there. It's a little tricky, but I've done it before. It's just need an extender. All right, so I got the bolts on the top clear. I got the sway bar end link clear. I'm gonna do this bottom bolt, and hopefully I can wiggle it loose. If I can't, I'm gonna have to do these upper control arms here, and which is gonna involve taking out this plastic cover, and I don't know, I'd rather not do that. But if I have to, I will. So hopefully I can pop it loose with just this. Let's see. All right, so it looks like I will have to take this upper control arm bolt out. All right, might as well get to it. All right, let's see if this setup will get the job done. This rock just came out of my upper control arm. A rock, like inside the bolt area. Anyway, I didn't have time to film it, so I'll try and do it on the other one. But the bolt came out, and you have to kind of tug on the upper control arm, and it comes out. You can pull the coilover out. It looks like it puts a little bit of strain on the brake line though, so I'm gonna be careful on that. Okay, so the coilovers need to be adjusted because this is what came out of the Miata. Screws flat like that. Okay, and that's flat. I turn this one, screws flat. That is not flat. So I think I have to take this and hold that in position and then tighten it down. Ooh, I am 4 hours into the first coilover. Luckily though, I'll know what I'm doing, and the next one should be faster. So I'm putting everything back together, but before I do the stuff, because all this stuff has like rubber stuff, and it's like there's angles and stuff involved, right? So you want to put some load on the wheel well before you tighten everything up. Otherwise, it's just going to be the trajectory of the bolts and everything will change. I think I'm doing it right. So it took me 4 hours, but a lot of that's figuring out what I'm doing and filming, but I got one of the front ends. I understand the rears are a lot easier. Yeah, so I'm gonna do the other front. I don't even know if I'm gonna get to the rears today because I gotta meet someone later on. So much for doing sway bars, all that other stuff today. It's not fun. I don't know why people do it for fun. It's not. Not fun. I've only finished one, right? But I'm already kind of there. When you know how you go out, like you go out drinking, you're hungover really bad the next day, and you think, well, I'm never gonna do that again. That was horrible. That was a bad idea. Why did I do that? Same thing with working on a car. Go out, you do it, you're like, oh, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. You do it, you're like, oh, that was awful. Never wanna do that again. Nope. And yet, in both cases, a few months later, here you are doing the same thing. So this whole thing relies on pulling this out and sliding it through this bracket, right? But this side of the car has these things in the way. They don't move. Hopefully there's room to slide it out still. I'll keep you updated. Yep, just like I thought. This guy can't fit through here. So I can't bring the assembly down to pull the coilover out. So I'm gonna have to think of some other way to do it. Like maybe go from the bottom. Yeah. All right, so here's what I had to do. I've got these hard pipes here. They're connected to a hose on the inside there, back there. So I took the screws off here and here, which gave me just enough room to flex the hoses to get the rod out. So here we are. This is what it looks like. This is to keep it from putting too much strain on the lines. I'm gonna go get the other one sorted and put in here. I just gotta adjust the height on it. All right, that's done. Let's see if, let's drop it to the ground and see if I screw something up. Hopefully it doesn't crash. I've got a bit of a problem. Oh, Lord. All right, day two, it's obviously too high, right? So I'm gonna raise it. When I drove it yesterday, there was a lot of rattling from the left side, not the right side. So that told me that I assembled something wrong. So I went and gave it a once over today. I have more time today, so I just took my time and checked every bolt, and the upper control arm was loose and the coilover was loose. So when I assembled it, I didn't tighten it down all the way. When you assemble those coilovers, you're supposed to take a hex screw. I'm having flashbacks to the rear brake episode. Anyway, you take a hex screw and you put it on the inside so you can tighten that down so it doesn't spin the shaft. All the videos I saw, people just pound it with a drill or whatever, and that seems to work. I did that, and I guess my little air wrench was too weak. And anyway, so I had them both tightened up, and we're good to go now. All right, so the way it works is this locks all this in place, and this locks this bottom part in place. I've loosened this up, so I'm going to bring the bottom up by pulling on this top one. By pulling on this top one this way. To unlock or to lock it, you put this way, and then another spanner wrench, and the bottom one going this way. That's how you lock it, and you push this up against there. And now that these are locked, when you turn this, it forces the center to spin, which pulls this up on the threads. Fronts are done, and I fixed the rally suspension setup. Hopefully that doesn't fall apart when I collapsed it. It was loose, it was rattling. Hopefully that's fixed. Hopefully the ride height's fixed, and I'm gonna do the rears, and then we will adjust the height from there. I have to keep it, I believe it's 9 centimeters from the lowest point of the car, whether that's the downpipe or the frame or whatever it may be. For the GTR, the downpipe was the issue. For this car, it's gonna be the frame. Anyway, it needs to be 9 centimeters up for inspection purposes, and there's a lot of like curbs and stuff, and I just don't want it to be that low. Contrary to popular belief, it is very hard to have a low car in Japan. Anyway, let's get to it. Alright, so first we gotta remove the plate in the back of the car, the back of the trunk that blocks the fuel pipes. Anyway, I believe they're 10 millimeters, so we're gonna take our little air wrench here. Lowered. Okay. We're gonna take a little air wrench here, grab myself a 10 mil, just pop those off. Pro tip, I'm not a pro, that's funny. Pro tip, whenever you use an impact, any air powered anything, once you put the socket on, you don't have a choice. It's required. The coilovers are here. Well, suspension, well, it's not coilovers yet, but They're here. Oh, so dirty. Wow, I need to clean. And there. This one's a little tricky. You gotta do like a weird elbow janky setup, but I've done it before. It should be fine. I'm gonna go ahead and spray a little bit of grease on there, and liquid wrench on there, and let it sit for a second. I'm out of gloves. Oh no. Gonna be a dirty day. All right, so one quirk about these cars in the rear is the 17 mil that holds the shock in at the bottom. It goes into a welded nut because you can't get to it here. It's inside. So they've designed it to where you just drill this in and out. You don't have to worry about getting anything on the other side. It's welded shut. Yeah, I like that. Now I'm gonna break the sway bar off. This is a 14 mil. So let's see here, it goes this way. So I removed the sway bar bolt, supported the assembly. Now I'm gonna remove the lower control arm. But I'm wondering if I should remove the top bolt first, because I can't get to it right here, so I'll have to lower the car. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so I got the lower control arm bolt out. This one was really hard because it's holding the weight of the hub. So as soon as it starts to come out, it starts to put a lot of weight on the screw, which is why you should support it. Now I just need to take this off, and it should hopefully all just fall right out. Fingers crossed. This way, yeah. All right, this guy, put him in there. This sway bar, why is it so janky? I'm gonna ask him. All right, it's in. And so to get the holes to line up with the hole in the bottom, what I was doing is keeping it loose, adjusting it, taking it out, adjusting it, putting it back in, and I kept getting it wrong, and it was wasting a lot of time. So I asked for help, and you can twist that even with it all the way tight. So what you do is you put the top in, finger tighten the bolts, take a large Phillips to the bottom, and just twist it where you need it to be, and it's a job done. All right, so this guy was way out here. I was like, what's going on? And the reason is, on the other end of the sway bar, you have your other suspension, which is still stock, right? So I was like, I don't know how to, so this was longer than that. So it was pulling the sway bar in a crazy way, which was pulling the end link in a crazy way. So I was having a hard time getting in. I asked for help. They said, well, unhook the end link on the other side, which I'm gonna have to do anyway. It's step one to this. So I did that. And you can just manhandle that, go right in there. Job done. I'm gonna assemble it. Then I'm not gonna show the other one, but I'll get it all put together and go for a test drive. Rears are in, lowered the front, still too high. Guess I'm coming back tomorrow. The car drives 20 years newer. Good news is nothing's rattling around anymore, so I think everything's tight. It's still too high. I'll fix that. But holy cow. So it turns out the shocks that were on there were not some aftermarket shocks. They were stock shocks, but with HKS lowering springs on it. So basically it was just an overly stiff ride, and with none of the performance that usually comes with stiffer coilovers. It was just lowered for aesthetic reasons. That's why the nose still dipped, even though on hard braking, even though the car was low. Yeah. Anyway, it's just like you can feel the dampener. So for the GTR, I had the Nismo suspension. Then I had Blitz ZZRs because the Nismo started leaking. Then for the Demio, I had some kind of adjustable suspension. I don't even know what it was. And then I had the stock ones with the lowering springs on a Miata. So I've driven stuff with different kinds of coilovers. And yeah, there's definitely like a quality. Right now I have it all the way south. I'll figure out what works yeah, I think it's going to be a much more comfortable drive now. Just need to get the interior up to par and get alignment, get some other things in, and the car's coming along. It was a productive day. It was long, 2 days, but I'm glad I did it. And if you're thinking about doing coilovers on your Miata, you absolutely should.